So you want to give an opening statement on the win?
Yeah, just another good, obviously another good outcome for us. Great second half effort. I thought our collective effort in the second half was slightly better than our start. I think that's our fourth game in 8 days, and it showed. Not an excuse because Cornell just came from Bucknell on Sunday and played in 48 hours. They just had so much more juice, but that's a good team. That's a good test for us, and just happy with our collective effort. We had 6 guys in double figures, and we needed all the offense we could use tonight, and just happy that we were able to get another win.
Questions for Malik or Jahari?
Jahari, just how much of a defensive challenge with them having 5 guys on the floor that could take outside shots effectively was it for you guys?
It was a great challenge. I think our coaching staff did a great job preparing us. We harped on it all week. The last 2 days, just how much moving that they would do. So I think we did a good job preparing for it. We could have been better, but I think we have room for improvement.
When you look at just, it seemed like throughout this game, different guys had stretches where the offense just kind of came to them for about 4 or 5 minute bursts. How impressive is that you guys had like 6 or 7 guys have those kinds of stretches in a game against a team?
It definitely says a lot about the depth in our team. Coach said before, we got like 7 or 8 guys that could be starting right now. And, I think that it's going to help us down the road, especially when we head towards conference play, because, things happen, especially at the beginning of the season. We battled a lot of adversity, it's next man up. So I think that it says a lot about how strong of a team we are.
Malik, question for you. You guys are obviously winners of 9 straight, starting the season on a hot streak. How would you describe the energy in the locker room right now, and what makes this group work so well together?
I think what makes us work so well together is we work hard. Everybody wants the same thing. A lot of guys came from different places, but we all, want to achieve the same goal. Chemistry is great off the court too, and that's a big part of why we play what we do.
Sorry. Malik, I know this was a bigger game for you, and I have another question for Jahari. How did you feel about tonight, just your contribution and everybody else's just role?
I felt great, but there's still work to be done. And I think that, like Jahari said earlier, our defense could have definitely been better, but we pulled through. But the preparation was great too. But just being out there with the guys and feeling that connectivity it's a great feeling.
Jahari, you've been coming into your own the last few games, especially even coming in this game where it's been tough, where you're going against different scorers. Defensively, how do you feel? Do you feel an improvement defensively with you just every game you play since you've begun?
Yes, I definitely felt an improvement. I think the main thing for me is just staying consistent. Different games present different challenges. I just think I have to lock in more on the film just to be better every game. But I have been doing that lately, so I think even more, with conference play coming up, locking in on film and just paying attention to detail will be key.
Anything else for the student athletes? Okay, thanks, guys.
Good job, boys.
Thank you.
I can't imagine there's too many games that you look at, like team scores, hits 13 threes, and it's not all that bad, given what they've been doing of late and kind of how they are. But were you kind of reasonably okay with how well you defended over the course of the time?
Again, that's a team that they made 23s at Bucknell. And, in the first half, I'm watching them. I think they only made 5 or maybe 6 threes. And I think for us, you got to pick a struggle. You can't give up threes. You can't give up layups. And then you can't foul and get back cut. You got to pick a struggle. And I just thought for us, it was one of those things where if we could have just taken 1 or 2 of those things out, the first half would have been a completely different game. And right now for my team and this team, we've got to do a better job in coming into halftime and not having to make so many adjustments. We've been a really good second half team. But unfortunately, offensive nights like the one we had tonight in the second half are just not going to come once you start getting into the thick of things with conference play, teams scouting each other so much more. And when you have a chance, you have a cushion that can go from 4 to 6 or to 8 points. You want to take that into halftime. And I think this is, I believe, our 7th game here. We're probably averaging going into halftime a 1 or 2 possession lead. And that's where we just got to get better. So to answer your question, I thought that it looked like 13 threes was 22 tonight. Every time they took a three, they made it. And I just didn't think we made a miss. That's where we've got to get better. But I mean, that's a really, really good team that whatever they do, the way they cut, the way they practice, the way they prep, it's high level. I'm not sure we're going to see a team that back cuts the way they do, that passes the way they do. Even their drives, like you can't just say we're going to take away threes. Like they're putting the ball on the floor and decking it and making great decisions. And so for us, I think it was a gauntlet of a test to just be able to guard different things. I mean, they presented different matchups and different personnel on the floor. Guys that typically would play more minutes couldn't play because they just couldn't. It's just not the game for them, right? So I think as much as these guys have been, adaptable offensively, I think we showed tonight, certain guys can be on the floor in certain situations. So I was happy with that. Masai played majority of his minutes at the four. We've talked about that being something that we needed, and tonight was just a good test for us.
There's a handful of guys that haven't played a whole lot of college ball for whatever reason, whether it's Kanga as a freshman, whether it's Malik because he just didn't play much, Jahari because he's been hurt. And all those guys had stretches where they were just kind of carrying you for a few minutes at a time in the offensive end. A month in, how much encouragement do you take from the fact that those guys are at the point that they can do that from time to time?
Yeah, I think confidence is everything in what we do with the game of basketball. Obviously, certain things have happened. I hate to talk about it, but we've had some injuries that's given some other guys opportunities, and those guys have stepped up. Malik has been phenomenal. He's been really, really steady on both ends of the floor. And then he comes out a night like tonight where he scores 17 points. He made 3 threes. Obviously, Jahari stepped up in, certain ways. He was the guy that I chewed out at halftime just because, he's as coachable of a kid as I've ever had. And he responded in the second half. And, a big reason why we've just been the way we've been is just the connectivity with these guys. I think we did a phenomenal job in recruiting high character kids. Like when they come up here and say they're always hanging out together and doing things together, it's a real thing. And that's translated on the floor. These guys trust each other. They're all just going after the same goal. And, hopefully that'll continue.
Coach, talk a little bit about Emmanuel's development. Tonight, 13 minutes, and he got everything out of 13 minutes that you can get out of 13 minutes. I know he's still young, but how have you seen him grown in these first few weeks of the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, EK is, he's the guy that doesn't talk as much just because he's still learning. He's learning so much, but he's got the natural ability at his position. And I think, as good as Riley is, as good as Nick is, all three of those guys have a certain something that they give us. And in a game like this where we needed his athleticism, we needed his length, we needed his pop, I thought in the 12 minutes he played, he was phenomenal. Again, when he's getting blocks and doing things defensively, it's a plus. But when he starts scoring, that's an even bigger plus, right? And I think he's starting to get comfortable with just his hands and doing some really good things there offensively. But he was great. Again, he's another kid that in Florida he didn't play the second game, and then he comes back against James Madison. I don't think he played much, and in a game like this, he stayed the course. And when you got guys like Stas, who's been phenomenal all year long. I mean, I love Stas. Because Stas is an everyday guy. He shows up to work. He shows up to practice. And that mindset is why he's able to go in there. And even though he only played 6.5 minutes, I thought his 6.5 minutes was really good and steady for us. And I think him setting a tone like that, it helps guys like Conga just to buy in.
And as a staff, I know it might be a good challenge, but a challenge nonetheless. As you get healthy, you do have a lot of capable guys who can do the things that you want to do. Where's that balance of managing time and rotations and just the chemistry of who can play with who out on the floor? And we're almost getting to conference season. What's that timetable look like for you and the staff?
Honestly, I try not to think about it. It's a good problem to have, but as of December 2nd, I'm just trying to focus on the group that I have right now. The healthier we get, it's going to present, probably some more, like I said, some good problems, but it's a long season, right? I told the guys and challenged them, the same way the game is played with, game of runs, you play offensively, you score 20, team scores 26. It's the same way with our season. And right now we've just got to be able to focus on what's up next. Right now it's Virginia Tech. That's all that matters.
Coach, question for you. What have you learned most about this team through just 9 games so far this season?
It's a complex question. Probably just trusting them. I think naturally, as a coach, you trust these guys when you recruit them, right? And you get them out of the portal and you're trying to take as much information as possible on film and just reaching out to different people that, have coached them, coached against them. But when you finally get them here and you don't really know who they are, you're trying to find the chemistry to help them. And along the way, it's just a natural thing of trust, right? As a coach, you want to figure out who can be on the floor together, rotationally, things of that nature. But it's the landscape we're in. One thing that I try to preach to my staff and to players, at the end of the day, confidence is everything. And like I said before, I've got 8 or 9 guys that I think when we brought them in, with the exception of maybe Braden, and then you remove Braden, you've got a balanced team, 8 or 9 guys that can start for you, that can play 20, 25 minutes. And so far, these guys have stepped up to that. And so my trust is, we're 9-0, so I think I trust them right now.
Coach, looking forward into the Virginia Tech game, you kind of went extremely deep with that complex question, saying I trust everybody. With a big game like this, going into Blacksburg, first true road test, what's something that you're trying to take from this game with this lineup, with all these lineups that you're taking into going into Saturday?
Yeah, first of all, it's just another game. It's our first true road game. And so that's, I think for me, it's going to be good to just see how our guys respond in a different atmosphere. We've been in our comfort zone. We haven't really seen any, that much adversity. And so going down to Blacksburg is going to be very, very good for us. We've got, look at our conference right now. Anybody can get it on any given night. And so it's going to be a good prep for us. I'm excited that these guys get a true day off tomorrow. And just to be able to come back, focus on Virginia Tech, and, we'll just see where the ball rolls.
Anything else for Tony?
Tony, the second half, you guys shoot 71%. What was it? You're able to get downhill, you're getting open looks. What was the adjustment at halftime that led to you guys being so successful, where you struggled at times in the first half? At one point, you guys were only shooting about 42%.
I went toe-to-toe with Jahari Long. That's what it was. Honestly, man, it's we've relied so much, I would say, on our offensive output from like Corey, Riley. Those 2 guys have been phenomenal. And, again, I just think we're able to just get in the paint a little bit more and extend them defensively. I thought late clock opportunities, we capitalized. And I just think we just had a little bit more grit. Again, nights like against a team like this, man, you're just not going to be able to take away completely what they do offensively. And then what we do defensively with our press, we couldn't press them. We also couldn't zone them. And so they gave us everything we needed defensively. But I just thought offensively, once we started putting them in rotations, we were able to kind of get the shots that we wanted. We, got to the free throw line. We capitalized at the free throw line. Anytime that you can get your bigs making free throw, that helps. We're 21-25, and we took care of the ball much better in the second half. I think we only had 7 assists, maybe 6 turnovers in the first half, and we ended up with 16 and 12. And so our decision making, I think, got better. Their press kind of in the first half, I thought we didn't play with as much poise, but once we figured that out, we started really spreading them out and just kind of attacking them in the open court. You can't play like that on both ends of the floor the way that they play. At some point in time, teams are going to figure it out, and we did. We scored 99 points. Offensively, I don't even know what that is right now, but I'll take it.
Tony, to circle back to your thought on the slow starts or the relatively slow starts, do you see a common theme in there? Is it the kind of thing where it's a focus issue? Is it the kind of thing where you have guys that are trying to feel the game out and it takes them a while to do that?
It's a complex question. Again, I said it before and I'll say it again. We've got 8 or 9 guys that can start. But I think, it's just one of those things where maybe you're just starting 1 or 2 guys, just, if you want to give them a chance to just kind of get themselves going, they might be better starting the game than not starting the game. And then you got certain guys. You got Masai coming off the bench. You got Fat coming off the bench. Those guys are Corvettes. They can just go in the game, and just their natural ability helps them. And I'm sure if, you start one of the 2 of those guys, it's a different start. but it doesn't help the longevity of the game and the flow of the game. And so for us, it's really just about finding different ways to just be better. But again, I mean, we started out first half in Florida, both those two games, we started out pretty hot. So I would attest it to maybe just over time. I mean, Jahari's a kid that's played more minutes than he's ever played in his career. And I still think his body has a long ways to go. And he's starting to outsmart all of us because he has this first half where he just kind of saves it and then he just like finds his way in the second half. I'd rather him be a better second half player than a first half player, but just need him to be better once we start playing some really, really good teams because you don't want to go into that locker room, down 6 or 8 points.
We're good to.
Y'all good? Appreciate it.